We're going with that.
Okay, hey, whenever you see a countdown, my assumption would be that you get the cue of like that's when you're supposed to smile and be like actually ready.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's almost
Point
as
taken.
if, we both are veteran podcaster peoples. I'm just saying, sir. I'm just saying.
All right.
And if I may, not so gently be a reminder to everyone else, we are veterans. Like we've done this for years and we still can't get the countdown right. So just everyone, there's hope for you.
Yeah, you can do this too.
You too can be amazing like us. We're professionals, damn it. So, okay, Jonas, my friend, welcome back to Chats Among Us.
Chats among us. Have you used your Chat GPT today?
I have not. I'm still pissed off that I didn't recognize who I was, or like, perhaps you might want to Google someone that's more well known. I'm like, damn it, Janet. Well,
You're locally famous.
I think it's also too because I don't often, you're supposed to, good hygiene wise, whatever, is you're supposed to tag yourself on all posts that you do, so your name keeps pulling up. But I never do that. I just post stuff, and I don't care if you know my
I
name
know.
or
I,
not. I
I
mean,
forget.
yeah, I mean, I kind of almost don't want to because my name is so unique that they should find me by
Good
virtue
point.
of my name. But no, that doesn't work either.
Good point.
And you know what? You just made me think about this because I think this is going to feed in our conversation today. Because when you're thinking about like our our names, right, and who we
Right.
are and our personal
Right.
branding, that's like all intellectual property of our own branding, right?
That's a good question. I think so,
Right. And
but I'm not an expert.
I wonder sometimes if we actually knew people who actually knew what they're talking about and not have people like us just guessing all day long.
What? How much better would the world be if we actually consulted with the specialist
I know, right? I know, right?
instead of
So, okay, so
instead of guessing?
let's not pussyfoot about this. So, okay, so today's episode is going to be all about intellectual property in the world of AI. What are the implications, right? Like, what does it actually mean? Because we touched it lightly,
We
you know,
did.
not physically, but like mentally, topic wise, touched on it. Gosh, I gotta be careful. I don't want to get like, canceled here. So we brokered that topic.
Be careful how you touch that topic.
I know. Week before last, we had discussion on art, right?
We
And
did.
and
Yes.
what is that implication for artists?
Right.
So I think it would be great to pull up our guest, but before we do that, shall we do our intro, my friend?
Let's do the intro.
Let's do this. Kick this off. All right, my friend. So, I gotta talk to you. So we invited a guest, and her name is Vicky Smolyar. And I gotta tell you, I chatted with her earlier, and I thought you guys already knew each other.
No, no. We met
So,
through. We'll have to double check this
well,
with Vicky. I
apparently
think.
me. You apparently met through me, and I'm like, oh wait, but you guys seem to like have
Well,
a great
sort of.
rapport.
Sort of. I think it was Mary. I think Mary Baker is involved in this again somehow.
Oh, it could have been Mary Baker too. Okay,
She's
that
she's
makes
been
sense
a
because
tremendous connector for me.
yes, yes, huge connector. Okay, so we're sitting there talking about chats among us, right? And then Vicky was like piping in all this stuff,
Yep.
and I was like, Jonas, we kind of need her on this show. Like, in fact,
Yep.
can she just replace me? Because like, damn it, she has some really great insights. So, I mean, come on, let's without further ado, let's just pull Vicky up, and then she can tell us about all about her amazing self and why we love her and why she's
Yes.
so amazing.
Let's do that.
Fair. Okay, let's do this. Welcome, Vicky
Thank you, guys.
Smolyar!
That was quite an introduction. That was thank you. Quite an introduction. How are you guys?
You're like, what the hell was that introduction?
That
Well, welcome. So, yeah, no, I thought it was just like
it was you.
everything.
It was through you.
See, she insists it's through me. I'm just gonna take credit for
You
it.
posted something. I chimed in, and then Jonas chimed in, And then I chimed in again because that's what I do.
That
Um,
sounds reasonable.
and
And
then
then
I
I
was like,
chimed
wait
in
a minute,
again because that's what I do.
exactly. And then I was like, wait a minute, I just did a post on this, and I think that's what it was.
Yep.
Because I did a whole post on the copyright implications of
Mhm.
AI because I was playing a lot with Midjourney, and I was like, this is not right. Like I wasn't like narking, I'm not like hanging out, in the chats, just like trying to see, but I was like waiting for my images to sort of populate, and I was like, there's like Drake in front of like a Game of Thrones potato. I don't know. It was like all over the place, and I was like, "That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad." And basically, I was like, "This is not gonna end well for people."
Coming
And
from your
I'll just be
perspective,
like, I was impressed with that. Vicky has not only had a good, not only was interesting, but seemed to know what she was talking about. Like
Oh
the
yeah, like
things she was
these are the
saying
things that like
made
keep
sense.
me. These are the things that keep me awake at night. I'm like super fun at parties, guys.
You'll fit right in with our parties.
oh my gosh.
Just
Well,
a bunch
okay,
of
well,
nerds
that's
sitting on
the
a
funny
table.
part. Like, you would be a blast at our parties because we're a bit on the. I would like to think we find everything in life humorous and interesting, so you would fit in
Absolutely, I
perfectly.
agree. I agree. We got to find the humor in everything, right? Or else, because if we're not laughing, we're crying. So,
We are a Greek tragedy, yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, come on,
I
peoples.
mean,
But okay, so maybe this is a Greek tragedy in the making or not. So, the more, so conceptually, in the initial, hype, if you will, the early hype cycle of, the whole AI and AI, created content, there's some coolness about it, right? There's some really neat things going on, but then there's also the implications. There's consequences for everything in life. And so from your perspective, as a intellectual property lawyer, like you got the legalese on things, and I got to
yeah, I
say,
paid for that.
is there like what is you guys have to be doing a lot of catch up right now, right? Or are you guys using older precedent to kind of dictate the direction? Like what's going on in your world right now? Like where are you
Let
guys
me
sitting?
let me explain to you how the law in this country works. It doesn't. So like I'm just gonna put it out there. Because like I do a lot of work with trademark, right? And so we've had the internet like on a wide scale for how long now? Like at least since like the mid 90s, right?
It's
And the
30
laws,
something years.
trademark laws, for example, have still not caught up to that, right? Like it's not really a priority for them. They're kind of just like taking these things as they're coming in. They're not, doing anything on a wide scale. If somebody has the money to put it into litigation, that's where sort of these things are determined. It would be much easier if we could just get, everybody in a room and like sit down and be like, where the fuck is this going? Like, let's just figure it out. But we know that that's not going to happen. So it's really like you got to wait for the court cases to roll in. And, until then, like, if you don't want to be made an example of, just like sit tight. Like, that has been my advice to everyone because like I said, like, I'm sitting in this like, Mid-Journey server and I'm like, what are you going to do with these images? And the other thing is like, you have all these like people trying to get attention on LinkedIn and Twitter and whatever. They're like, I'm going to have an AI generated whatever like business where I'm just going to go into Mid-Journey and it's going to generate all these images for me and I'm going to put them on t-shirts and I'm going to sell them. Like, do you know what you're selling? Do you know what these images are? Do you know where they came from? Like these AI models, they're trained, well, they're trained, right? Because we don't really know how they're trained, but they
I
claim
do.
that they're trained on stuff that's like in the public domain. So it's not like subject to copyright. It's trained, I don't know, in all sorts of way that's supposedly not infringing, for lack of a better word. But why is like Apple logos popping up? And like even for myself, right? Like so I needed an image of like a Jack Daniels bottle. I was doing something about Jack Daniels and I was like, oh, I want like a dog with a Jack Daniels bottle. So I typed in the prompt.
Because who doesn't?
Right, exactly, right? I mean, so I typed in the prompt and it generated a bunch of images for me. And you know, like with Midjourney, like they don't have the capability to actually do text, so it's all just kind of like mumbo jumbo. So it generated the bottle without like obviously the Jack Daniels logo and words, but the bottle itself is a trademark of Jack Daniels and it's the exact bottle shape.
Oh,
So
Okay.
if you don't know that, right, like I do, and you're going out there and you're trying to make money on that,
Hmm.
guess who's coming after you?
Right.
oh my
Like you
gosh.
can, yeah,
No,
right?
One of
And
the
that's also,
one of the first things you said that impressed me was uh, both in the sense of being a useful, pithy statement, but also being accurate is and making me think was you don't want to be the test case.
no, you do not want to be the test case. And here's the thing, right? Even when you think about that, test case implies that there's going to be like widespread litigation. We're talking like years,
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, right? But the thing that I'm like most concerned about, right? The thing that I deal with sort of on a wide scale because I work with smaller businesses are that, and that was what my post was about, was these copyright trolls, right? So there
Mhm.
are these copyright attorneys that are basically just like, I call them the ambulance chasers of the internet because that's exactly what they are, right? So they have like a wide network of them. There's like maybe one or two of them controlling this network. And they just troll the internet all day long
Mhm.
looking for the most minor infractions, right? So, like somebody pulled an image off of the internet and they put it on their blog, and they're coming after these people. They're sending like 500, 600, 1,000 cease and desists a day. And each one of those cease and desists is a demand for like $10,000,
Mhm.
$15,000. And, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot, but for a small business who's
Mhm.
just like running a blog, that's everything,
Right.
right? And the problem is that half of the time they're not even like based in law, they're not based in reality. They're literally just there to scare people and see if they can, you know, sucker them
get
into a
money.
settlement. Because
Yep.
yeah, exactly.
They're
It's a money play.
succubuses.
Because
Exactly.
so on that subject, how much does it cost to defend one of those? So if I
Well,
because this has happened to not me personally, but to a show that have been associated with,
don't go to
and
court for them
you
because
just quit because
I mean, you do, they will not go to court because for the
right.
most part, like I said, they're not even based in law. Because when you actually come back to them and you're like, show me the copyright registration, they're like, oh, I don't have one. You can't, no, you fucking don't. Because so like you're literally just, you know, banking on the fact that the person you're sending it to gets scared and doesn't do
Mhm.
anything about it. Because for the most part, none of these people are going to go to a lawyer, which, you know, in and of itself is a problem, but I digress.
So, but you bring something up as a as a creator, right?
Yeah.
Um, I have pulled stuff up, but I just want to make sure we're clear on this one point. I'm going to highlight myself just to make sure I emphasize this here.
Yeah.
For those that are creating their own content, particularly on LinkedIn, because there's a huge movement, right, to be creators, to get more
Mhm.
engagement and all that stuff, right? What I'm noticing, people, and I've warned other folks about this before, is be careful of other people's content that you leverage for your own social media posts. Because even though
Right.
you're using it for social media, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Vicky, it is still a copyright infringement. If you are
Correct.
using people's music, if they're using their
That's correct.
images and likeness, you've got to be very careful about that. Because I've seen people like literally play like the Beatles in the background, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And or,
Mhm.
people will take pictures of, oh, let's say who's not litigious. Okay, Tom Cruise, right? Like images of
Sure,
Tom
not
Cruise
litigious.
and like, copy and paste it and, and pictures of him. Now, I need to ask you this though, because could it not be argued if you pull a picture that's maybe trademarked by someone or copyrighted by someone, let's say, what's that? AP peoples, for example, and it's a Getty Images, it may be a Getty image, but you decide to work it like a you see a lot with the YouTube post covers, right? Of screenshots of those people. Could it not be considered under fair use? Or would you just simply say, guys, don't even risk it. Don't even bother with this?
It's like fair use is actually like a very, very complicated analysis.
Mhm.
You have things, for example, like memes, which can fall under parody,
Mhm.
which was actually the whole Jack Daniels and the dog thing was for parody because there's now a case before the Supreme Court in what actually constitutes parody. And we don't have a decision on that yet, but it should be interesting to see how that pans out
That's
because for
amazing
a
that,
very
that
long
we've had a Supreme Court for basically 200 years, and we don't have a legal definition of parody.
We have, right? There's a circuit split, so everybody kind of looks at it differently. Like I said, right? Like it takes forever, and until it actually goes somewhere like a big company like Jack Daniels brings it to the forefront, you're not going to get concrete answers. And to be fair, I'm surprised they even like took it on because I was not expecting it. But yeah, there's this like difference in opinion between the different circuit courts about if it's parody or if it's not, when it's parody, when it's not,
Right.
and that's like in the trademark sense. But that's sort of how I look at memes, right? If you're going and you're going to make something funny out of it, I think it's pretty certain that it is, it falls under parody. It's like educational content or whatever you want to call it. You're not actually like going out and like selling t-shirts with it or doing something commercial with it. So I would say that's okay. On YouTube, I think it's like a whole different ball game. Like I always tell people to just be very suspicious, right? Like just don't do it. It's not worth the risk, right?
Right.
Like the thing is, I can make the argument that it is fair use, but guess what? You're going to have to pay me money to make that
Mhm.
argument, right? So, unless you're prepared to pay me money to defend that, don't do it.
Oh man. Just kidding. No,
Okay,
I mean,
And now that
so
I
that
sit on everyone's parade,
yeah, okay.
so that brings up an interesting. Okay, that gives me an opportunity to tie this back into AI.
okay,
So
that's what
a
we're here
couple of
for.
years ago, I worked with a little student group to develop an AI meme generator. So the AI takes in memes off the internet and parses text, and does a lot of the same stuff that we're seeing be in the public eye now, and generates you know uh, Pepe the Frog or whatever meme with some hopefully funny text on it. And we actually had some pretty hilarious stuff come out of that. And it would probably be way better now because the technology has improved a lot. But okay, so if a meme, so if a meme could be parody, but if it's generated by an AI that doesn't have rights, I mean, who who owns that? Does it?
Nobody owns it, right? Because there's not going to be a copyright in that image. The AI is not, the AI has no intellectual property rights, right? Like there's very specific definitions in the Copyright Act
Mhm.
about when the copyright applies, who it applies to. Like the courts have already shut it down. I think I sent you also,
You did.
it wasn't a court decision because it hasn't gone to court yet, but I sent you that like public decision from the Copyright Office where they were
Mhm.
like basically denying somebody a registration because they said that it doesn't meet the creative threshold that's necessary to get that copyright registration
Right.
because it's created by a robot. And they're very specific that it has to be just humans. So here it's maybe, I mean, that's kind of my question, right? Like where does the IP go? Like where does it lie? Is it in the person that is creating the prompt for the AI to create the image? Or
Mhm.
is it in the generated image? Right?
okay.
Because you can
Yeah.
have arguably a copyright in the prompt. Like you see people selling prompts all the time now, and I'm like, is that like, can we go to the copyright office and register that as like a
Right.
written work and see? So because without the prompt, there's no image.
Okay,
So
so maybe this little slidey graphic I picked up here, guys. If you don't
God.
mind, like let's talk about this because it's now you're making me think, and that's dangerous, Vicky. I warned you, young lady, not to do that to me.
Well,
But
don't make Sia think.
yeah, I know. We try not to make Sia think too much. Okay, so here's this graphic that I picked up. It says if an AI system develops intellectual property, who or what do you believe should own the intellectual property rights and patents? This is full credit and disclosure on a company URL website businessgoing.digital, and the article name is Key Challenges of Artificial Intelligence, Intellectual Property, Protecting Your AI and Its Creations. So full disclosure, this is not my graphic. The link is down there below if you want to be lawyering peoples. There you go. So Vicky, was that good enough to make sure your people don't go after me?
yeah, that's good. You're good. You're good.
Okay, good.
I don't
Okay.
make any guarantees. All right, there are no guarantees in my
There
world, but I
are no guarantees in this business.
Okay, don't worry. I won't go after you for false whatever advice. But this is not legal advice. Okay.
this is exactly.
Okay.
Let's put a disclaimer on the screen.
I know, right? Wait,
All right.
yeah.
First
For
of
you, I
all,
will do it. I will write my
no, I was
disclaimer.
joking.
What's a proper disclaimer? Disclaimer.
This is not legal advice. Get your own freaking
This
lawyer.
is not legal advice.
Get your own freaking lawyer and pay them properly.
Get your own
Exactly.
lawyer. Okay.
I tell
Okay,
that to
so
everybody.
here we go. Oh wait,
So I would
one.
just like to say, for the record, that I am I see the disclaimer. We should not crowdsource these types of questions, okay? Because I don't think everybody deserves an input on, who should have intellectual property rights with IP. That's, my first line of thinking. But it's hard, like, again, right? Like, we're going back to what I just said. Like, where does the IP lie? Because the AI cannot do anything without the person, the human, programming it, right? So, or feeding something to it, right? It's a response to something. So, I don't know, right? And then you also come back to the fact, like, again, like, especially with these like image generators like Midjourney, like, we don't know honestly what they're trained on. And especially when you start opening them up to the internet, right, where they can just pull from anything, copyrighted, non-copyrighted, right? So what does it do? It takes a bunch of images, it interprets the words, and then it puts together from a bunch of already existing pieces something new, right? But how do you know how much of a thing it pulled to create that image, right? So like I could type in like, I use this example, like I want a picture of like a sunset or whatever. And so on a beach and this and that. And so like it goes and it creates a couple of original things, but then it goes and it pulls this like image of a sunset that's copyrighted. And it's not obvious that it's copyrighted, right? Because how would you know that? It's like just an image of a sunset. It's very general. How do you know that you're not infringing on someone? Guess who's going to be knocking on your door tomorrow? That copyright troll.
Right.
Because he
Okay.
knows.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think you have highlighted for me just in this conversation that never really clicked before is that the copyright, the intellectual property, I think is the word that you're using, it has nothing to do with how beautiful it is or how creative it is or anything. It has to do with who put in the work.
Copyright attaches. You don't need a registration. The copyright attaches when you put pen to paper, finger to keys, right? When you put something into a tangible medium, right? So that's
Right.
that's the language in the Copyright Act. So that's it. You do that, and the copyright attaches. You register it for other reasons if you want to sue somebody
Right.
for infringement, or you want, broader scope of protection, but you don't have to register it. It automatically applies. So, I'm a photographer. Tomorrow I take a bunch of beautiful images, I post them on my blog, and all these AI models are picking them up and start incorporating them into other people's stuff, and all of a sudden I'm on the internet, and I look at something and I'm like, "Wait, that looks kind of familiar," right?
Right.
And who's the infringer here? All I
Right.
typed in was that I wanted an image with a sunset,
Right.
and you generated this, but now I'm liable because I'm using it.
Right.
Mm,
Right.
Okay.
Well, so the example that I was thinking of originally before you burst my bubble was so there's that
Special.
that case that went to the Copyright Office was a comic book that had some, in comic book standards, pretty nice art in it, but it was all computer generated. Now I have a somewhere around here I have a little comic book done by a guy named Scott Meyer, who is really hilarious, but his comics, his images are basically a couple of really sketchy line pen and ink drawings that he copies and pastes. So in terms of quality of the output, the computer generated one is way better, but it doesn't get copyright because it was computer generated. But his does, even though it's artistically much worse, because he's the one, because he actually did the work.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I think that's, because we always, and you just did it even yourself, we always make the connection. We always say, well, I as a photographer take these beautiful images, but the copyright doesn't have anything to do with it being beautiful images or even particularly good. It's that I did the original work. And I think that is going to probably throw a lot of people off on this as they're, well,
first of all, beauty is subjective, and I will tell you that I have gotten a lot of really peculiar things through the Copyright Office. They are not very particular. I've been doing this for 8 years, and I've had one rejection from them, and that rejection was when it was basically just like a picture of a crown and 3 letters, and the crown was just like a computer generated what's that word I'm looking for, icon. So it was just black and white, like very plain, and 3 letters, and they were like, this does not rise to the level of creativity. And to be fair, it was just like a shot in the dark thing strategy, because the client was having issues getting it through at the trademark office. So I was like, well, at least if we want some level of protection, we can try it. It's a graphic, we can try to do it from this angle. And they were just like not having it. And I was like, it's not worth the fight with them. But that's it. Like, other than that, like, they accept pretty much everything. And so when I actually found that copyright refusal, I was like, oh, that's strange. And I'm curious, I can't see the application, but I'd be curious to see who was the claimed copyright owner, right? Who was being claimed as the owner on that copyright application, because how would they even know that was AI generated? Like, I could have gone into Photoshop and done that, right? Like, how would you know? And that would have been fine. Like, that would have been copyrightable.
Right.
So how did the Copyright Office know that was AI generated? And so they actually gave that artist the copyright in like the words and sort of the arrangement of how things appear, but they were like, that specific character or whatever it was not allowed.
Well, so I do remember on the comic book one, they were attempting to claim, and they specifically say on the cover of the comic book, well, not real specific, but they were attempting to claim joint artistry with the AI. So they did spell out.
Then that's probably why. Yeah, that's probably why.
Well,
I'm surprised. So many things fall through the cracks there, but they got it.
I gotta go back to this graphic, you guys, because it's really kind of
Yeah,
bugging me. The
sorry.
more we're going down
Sorry.
this path, the more it's starting to bug me a little bit here because there's this 1% here that is irking me, and I just need your guidance on this. So, not
Mhm.
one, there's multiple things going on here that bugs me. So, okay, so if AI develops, okay, some kind of intellectual property, who owns it, right? Intellectual property rights and patents. Majority is the company using the AI. I can see why selfishly be like, well, I'm the marketing department. I created it. I leveraged whatever platform. I could see where it's like, well, the company created this, not the AI. They just use it as a tool. But here's the other thing. That makes sense, right? That makes sense, right? The marketing
That's
people
a
put it together.
standard thing when you work for like a big company. That's called a work for hire, where you're like creating
Mhm.
all this IP, but the company gets the rights. So that's yeah,
That's normal, right?
typical.
But
Yeah.
the inventor of AI, that is irking me because now you're telling me, so all those, the platforms that we're all talking about, they own the IP of stuff that we create. Like that
Well,
was
guess
weird.
what?
Is that I reading it right?
You're reading it correctly, and that is something that's going to be buried in terms of use that most people are not going to know about. And that was something that was going on with in like even like if you go to social media, right? Like if you're on any of the social media platforms and you start going through their terms of use, there's some egregious bullshit in there where they're like, if you
Oh
post
yeah,
something,
yeah,
like we own it, we can do whatever we want with that.
right.
So that is, yeah, that is not
Mhm.
out of the ordinary for them. And it's
Right.
just like you have to know which platform is doing that. And guess what? Most people are not going to know because they're
Right.
not reading those terms.
Right.
That's
I
that's
mean,
probably a whole other show about licensing agreements and social media
Yeah. Yeah.
usage
That's a whole
agreements and
rabbit hole.
we absolutely need to go through that, and I absolutely want to make sure we go. And Vicky, you're welcome back for that. Okay, so let me keep going down
You
this
want me
graphic
reading
because
in terms of use?
yeah,
Just
because
redlining it.
terms of use. Yeah, that's it.
it's sensitive to me, you guys, because I do buy licensing for my clients and stuff all the time for any
Hmm.
content that we create, right? I always get licensing,
Yeah.
but then there's single use versus blah blah blah. We can
Yeah.
need to talk about that later in life. But
Yeah.
graphic at hand here, because I know we're gonna go off on another tangent. So now, okay, so those two, the inventor of the AI and the company that created, okay, I get that. Now these other options I thought was really fascinating because it's 4% AI itself. Like, what does that even mean?
Well, that's what I was talking about, right? Like
That's the reason. That's the reason why Vicky says don't let everybody have an opinion on this.
let
Okay,
everybody,
okay.
it's fucking
And
public domain.
I mean that's like public domain. So basically they're saying, okay, if I'm gonna leverage this, like
For
have at
all.
it free for
You
all,
get
like
a this and you get a copyright. You get a copyright.
So here's I actually have heard a better argument for where they're going with it. I don't agree with it. I still think this Vicky's interpretation of that is correct, but they're some of those people's argument is that since the AI has been trained on public domain stuff, since they basically have fed it in all this stuff, then anything that comes out of it should be equally ambiguous, I guess. Like I said, I don't really agree with that either, but that at least has the semblance of logic to it.
Let me challenge you on that. Let's say you're doing like decoupage, where you take like
Mm-hmm.
pieces of
Yeah.
things and you put them right. So I'm taking a piece of this, a piece of that, a piece of that, a piece of that. I'm putting it
Mm-hmm.
together and I'm creating a whole new thing. That's my whole new thing,
Right.
right? So
But that's
technically,
that's you as a human doing it. They're saying that since it's a
right,
machine
right.
that's
But
just
I'm saying like if
spitting
it was
out
public
image salad.
domain,
Right.
if it was legitimately public domain and it's going out and it's putting these things together and I'm sort of the brains behind it where I'm like, I want it to look like this and
Mm-hmm.
that, right? Because there's some really complicated prompting going on. Like we joke, but
Right.
there are people who actually know their shit, right? Like they're not just like me typing in I need a
Mm-hmm.
picture of a sunset, right? Like they're prompting this shit out of it, they're reworking it, and they're coming up with these like really like that comic book, right? Like they're coming up with some
Mm-hmm.
really original, unique stuff.
Right. Right.
So like that really is coming from public domain, which
Right.
it's not. But if it were, um, then I would be open to being like, okay, like perhaps the person who prompted the AI to come up with this image should be the owner, because if they had done it in Photoshop, right? If they had like this
Mhm.
image and they went into Photoshop and they manipulated this way and they manipulated that way, there would be a copyright there. So
Right.
I think that there's, you know, not too huge of a difference there, right?
Right.
But I don't know.
To me, that mental leap, that logical leap, makes a lot more sense than, well, the machine owns it, because I
Exactly.
mean,
The
how does that
machine
work?
does nothing on its own. The machine is
Right.
still, for now, the machine is still a machine.
Right.
For
For
now.
the machine is still
For
a
now,
machine.
you know, for now.
The one
Hey,
But
I'm really interested in there is the 4% that says other.
yeah,
What
that's why we
what
don't
is
crowdsource this shit. What other?
yeah, I
that's
don't understand. I don't even know what
my
that meant,
legal
you guys.
opinion.
I was like looking at that. I'm like, I
Who's
don't even
other? Who's
other.
Right.
other? I like
No, no.
I don't know. I'll go with I don't know. Can we just
I,
like
I think that's a fair that's a very fair statement
those are
to
self-aware
that
people that
question.
realize that they shouldn't be making this
I don't
decision.
know. Don't ask me. I am not a lawyer. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, not my
Um,
problem. Not for me to decide. No, I think that's fine because that's like 25% of like the whole poll. So in a way, again, like as we all know, graphics and statistics, right? You use it, manipulate however you want to, and whatever information you get out of it, that's a
it's like I
whatever.
know who they went to when they were trying to make that graphic, right? Like who did they target?
Well, it's business going digital, so it's pretty.
Right.
That sounds like a pretty
Yeah, that's a pretty
biased
biased
audience.
Hey, look,
sample
peoples,
size.
I found it. It looked pretty, and I thought it'd be a great talking point. Man alive, don't cancel me, people. Talking point.
Talking
No,
point. Yeah.
no, I mean, no, there's so many different, I mean, aspects of this. Like, seriously, Vicky, we really need you to come back again, and if you
Like
don't
this is
mind,
the
like,
tip of the
jumping on
iceberg. Like
because,
I really can, yeah.
I mean, because again, at what point when we, again, the hype cycle, everyone should be using AI. Look at all this, and dude, you can do this. You can save time. You can save money. You can outsource it instead of having an actual human do the work and actually pay them something. You can outsource it to some AI. Like again, I wonder legally as far as like what the next steps and stages for it. Do you see like all these like cases that are going like being introduced to the Supreme Court right now? Is it going to have to evolve to accommodate this whole digital world that we're living in now?
You know, I have very strong opinions about the Supreme Court, which does about. So mm, I would not be interested in them taking a stance on anything. Um, I think that you need to get all the smart people into a room, and you really need to freaking see this through and codify it, and that will be the only. That's the best case scenario. It's not going to happen. It's going to be show for forever. Like if you've watched like the TikTok hearings, like it's gonna be more of that. Like crusty
Oh,
old dinosaurs like questioning people about Wi-Fi.
oh.
So
Do you
TikTok,
understand
there's
how
a really funny
painful?
guy on TikTok who makes fun of them for that, and it's amazing.
Oh my God, no, I mean, okay, I'm gonna pull us on a squirrel tangent, but seriously, when Mark Zuckerberg got pulled in and he's sitting there
More
talking to
of that.
all these like quote,
That's
leaders of
that's
our
exactly where that image
government.
came from.
I mean, and oh my God, can I just tell you? I don't even know who it was, and I don't really care. They're all politicians, are all the same to me. But this one guy thought he had some humdinger questions to ask Mark, and I'm looking at him going, and you just see his body language, like, but yes, here's this, and you just see the look. This question's so stupid. It was like
I'm
so
going to send
bad.
you all those TikToks. The guy did like 16 of them now. He keeps putting them out about like the congressional TikTok hearings. You're gonna die.
Oh
This
my God,
guy's
congressional
amazing.
TikTok hearings. I will
We'll
have
have
to
to
check it
check that
out.
out.
I'm gonna send them to you because I've been sending them to everybody. They're my favorite now.
Oh my
Where it's
gosh,
like Congress questioning like I don't know who they're questioning about TikTok, and it's like is Wi-Fi.
oh my. Okay, Okay, this is the other thing I was saying is like, okay, so like, and they took a bunch of buzzwords. So it's like,
Yeah.
I wonder if they Googled it and they had like some intern like do some
Yeah.
little Google
Oh
like
yeah. Oh
buzzword
yeah. Yeah.
because there's no way if they actually hired a real
No.
like, uh, you know, even security, even just a basic IT person, like
No.
just anybody, like no one would have
It's
ever
just
used
for
it and phrased it that way. You know what I mean?
no. It's for
So
Fox News talking points. Like that
Right.
that's what it's for. And it's
it's
like
theatric.
and it's like,
But
yeah, it's theatrics. And it's the most ridiculous thing because every question is like yes or no. And
Yes.
yes or no? What is the Wi-Fi password?
yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah. Does TikTok know my Wi-Fi password? Yes or no?
Oh no, you know what
Um,
kills me? You know what kills me the most too, though. I'm totally squirreling this because it just cracks me up so much. Because I do love making fun of politicians. I think that's a great
me too.
unifier. I think we all
I
can get
agree.
together and just make fun of politicians,
Absolutely.
not parties, just politicians in general. But
Everyone,
nothing kills
everyone's
me more.
daughter.
Yeah, well, nothing kills me more is when they preface their stupid ass questions with, "Well, I don't have a smartphone and I'm proud of it." But I'm going to ask you a very hard question on, IT security
Yeah.
concepts.
Everyone's an
You
expert.
How long should my password be?
Yeah, so stupid.
Yes or no?
Yes or no? Right?
I
That's
mean, I haven't
which
touched
is almost as
email.
bad as saying should the AI have the copyright? By a round of applause.
Yeah.
A round of
I mean,
applause.
Round of applause.
honestly, like I would go to DC to sit in on those congressional hearings just maybe like I don't know to like I don't know roast them from the bleachers. I don't know if they let you
Be the
do that.
heckler. I don't
Oh,
think they let you
like
do
I
that
you'll see me on the news getting
anymore.
oh, like the British Parliament, don't they like all like heckle each other? I'm like the
But
Commons,
yeah,
House of Commons.
they're vicious.
Oh my
I
God,
feel
they're
like we should do
good.
that.
They're so good
I
though. I mean, they're so witty. Like they're so good with those
Yeah,
comebacks.
they're
We would
zingers.
melt.
Yeah,
Americans would melt in that kind of format, but it would be
I
so
would.
good.
somebody might get triggered.
Well, you know what? I mean, look, if at some point at certain levels of leadership, I get there are triggers in life on things. I'm fully respectful of that. I understand everyone's got their own experiences, but at some point in leadership, those types of triggers are going to have to be managed in a way that's going to be constructive to address and not simply go left, right, like black or white. Like,
Absolutely. We're
there's
here
got
to
to be
do
some.
one job, right? Like we got a job to do. So can we just fucking do our job? Like that's it. All it is. Like we have an issue. Let's like we're all adults. Let's just like do our job. Like can you imagine if like I did my job the way they do their job? Like would you have a job at this point? Any of
you
us?
know, okay. So, okay.
I'm gonna try it just to see.
Okay, you let me know how that pans out for you.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a lot of negotiations, right? If you're really good at that and have no soul, I think anyone could be an excellent politician. Like, I've got the moral high ground here. Yeah, I bet you your compass is going to be slightly skewed if you've got a benefit that's going to be self-serving for you. Because you know why? There is not one freaking politician in our leadership government that
Yep.
walked in maybe not be a millionaire, but they've all left millionaires or they're currently all millionaires. So, how does that work, guys?
I wonder. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Anyway, I don't know if on a tangent, but I'm just saying that I don't expect anything useful, productive from the government on this. Like we are still like trying to figure out the internet, and that was like 1992.
Two? Yeah. Okay. Do have a question, and it is
Yeah.
kind of like not tangenty, but it is tangenty to. I love my words I make up. You guys, do you see this being politicized like everything else? Is there a side to take politically in the United States? I know this is going to be a globally watched thing, but is this and can this be politicized, or is this really just a different? It doesn't matter what party you're in. AI and IP, intellectual property, uh, is its own merits.
I think everything is a target for politicization. Can't speak English.
Politi-
See?
politicization,
Politicization. Okay.
colonization.
Someone else say it. Yes. It doesn't matter like what side it's both parties equally guilty. My brain doesn't go there, so I'm almost just like kind of sitting in the shadows and waiting for them to come out and see like which way this goes, because like I said, like I'm just like I'm Switzerland. And but I see it. I mean, everything, right? And anything that can be turned into a talking point will be turned into a talking point. And I'm assuming, next year with the election coming up, like we'll probably be seeing it sooner rather than later. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. I know we have to wrap up here, but I gotta ask this too. Okay. So does deep fake and all that also apply into intellectual property under
Yeah.
parody? Would that be under parody kind of vibe? Or I mean, you're using the likeness, like
No,
again, Tom Cruise is a perfect example of that
I know.
situation.
I think that there's, like I said, like parody is a very sort of intricate analysis. And I think there's a line. There's definitely a line. And again, that line has not been drawn because this is all so new. And until we get a court case, we're not going to really know.
Okay.
But if it was me, I would be arguing that that is just like, there's a very, very strict line between like, deep faking parody, because it's not parody anymore. It's one thing when like, Weird Al puts on a Madonna costume,
Right.
and
What
sings like the
was the
Surgeon.
Conan O'Brien that used to have somebody's head and just have the bottom half of their face
Yeah, like you
flapping?
can tell, right? If it looks fake, it's parody. Like people can
Right.
draw that inference. If,
And if it's in the
Weird Al
context
takes a
of a
deep fake
comedy
of
show.
Madonna,
Right.
what's that?
Okay. So
Yeah.
you guys know about that one Unreal Keanu Reeves. I freaking love that guy, a person, whoever created it. He basically deep fakes Keanu Reeves into these weird, silly scenarios on TikTok. I didn't realize it was fake until I read an article. I'm like, oh crap, I've been noticing all that. I thought he was just being goofy Keanu Reeves, right? Like, but
I don't even know that. Okay,
and
I didn't
it's
see that.
and like
Yeah.
so okay, so is it something where Unreal Keanu Reeves, you're welcome, kid, whoever you are, person, robot, whatever thing, um, is it something where only Keanu Reeves would be the person that would argue like, "Hey, don't use my likeness and sue," or is it something like maybe
Yeah.
his agency, talent agency, could sue that person, be like, "Yeah, no, you don't, have the rights to our
He owns
client's
the rights
face."
to I'm assuming he has not, signed over the rights to his likeness. But yeah, that would probably have to come from him, because there's also there's copyright implications, there's trademark implications, right? Like I don't think Keanu Reeves necessarily is like a trademark, but in other areas. But yeah, it's that is in and of itself, that's like a whole other, like rabbit hole. And with the deep fakes, with like the AI generated music, right, where you had like that
Mm.
that Drake song, and it was like nobody knew, and it's like, so it's a whole other rabbit hole.
No, I love this, and you guys, I could keep talking about this, but we got to probably be
Wrapping it up.
wrapping it up here. So, okay, for those that want to get a hold of you, beautiful Vicky, I love your soul and I love your personality, and I knew we'd get along, and I love that you have
I know.
I love that you're direct. So, for those
Oh
that
yeah.
want to get a hold of you, I did put up the LinkedIn, but
Yep.
is that the best way to get a hold of
I
you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm usually just hanging out over there now. So
Oh yeah,
I
we're
mean,
gonna
I'm on Instagram too, but I'm not really on Instagram. So that's the best way. LinkedIn. And
we need to grow
yeah.
you on LinkedIn, girl, because everyone needs to hear you. I'm just saying right now.
I'm there. So I haven't been there for long, but I'm there.
No, we'll
Especially
get you there.
all these people we're connected with who are creators or
Yeah, I
media,
mean,
whatever.
For
people
me,
are. What's that?
he's like creators. I'm like, oh, don't creator me. We're creators.
We are, because we create stuff.
Yeah,
But
well,
some people are copying and pasting.
everybody's a creator these days. I'm a creator, right? Because I make carousels. So
Ooh.
That's right.
Uh,
Outstanding carousels.
okay, so I said this, and I actually haven't done an official post on it because I'll probably get shadow banned more than I'm already at on LinkedIn. But my buddy, I did a carousel as a parody joke. I think I was telling you about that, Vicky.
yes.
And my buddy saw it, and he's like, "What's up with you and jumping on the clickbait bandwagon?" And I was like, "Oh my god, it's total clickbait. It's totally what
Yeah.
could have been on just one slide Everyone's doing on like 44 slides. Who the hell? I don't even sit through PowerPoints that long. Like, seriously.
You know, I can't blame people. I know exactly, we talked about this. I know exactly what you're saying, but at the same time, I can't blame people because LinkedIn is really freaking prioritizing them. And so if the point is to get the word out there, then that's the way to do it. So like, it's annoying, but like you could probably find a way to be more concise. You know, like I've jumped on this like smart brevity bandwagon, but like
I would rather click through a carousel than watch a freaking video. And I do videos.
I'm like, hello, what are we doing right now, sir?
I know, but not like a podcast video, but like.
No, the other ones where there's like words on the screen and everything is jumping and there's like an emoji here and one there, and I'm just like, no, I don't have ADHD. I don't think I have ADHD, but I can't keep up with this.
I'm like, oh wait, those stimulate me, so I'm kidding.
Right? I'm just like freaking out afterwards.
No, I mean, I think it's a good mix of it. It's just like when there's just an absolute reliance on it. And again, it's weird to me that LA just picks up like, you know, their du jour tactic, right? Because what last year it was all about the polls. Take some more polls and have some more polls, and you know, it's just
everyone wants to contribute.
I know, but stay tuned because I will be coming up with a carousel, and it will be 100% this discussion. So yes, I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I'm making it.
Exactly. What? I have a takeaway from this, and my takeaway from this is that it's going to be a fucking shit show forever.
Well,
yeah, listen, they're always trying to like, you know, keep us on our toes. Because
is that a copyrighted phrase? Because I'm gonna use that a lot.
That's trademark. We could talk about that.
That's a trademark. Yeah. Oh no, I need to work with you on the terms like trademark, copyright, blah blah blah. I do want to. Yeah, Vicky.
That's fine. We'll have a conversation.
Thank you so very much for coming. I knew this would be so much fun. And yeah, we definitely need to have you back. And you will be back because damn it, this is so much fun. Not that I don't love Jonas, but
I will nerd out over this, like honestly, like forever. Like seriously, like I will not shut up. I've been told that I am verbose.
I think that's what we like, Sia. We like people
telling me that I have verbal diarrhea.
I think I need a shorter applause. That's hella long.
That's a really long cheer.
Hey, but that's because it's legit, and we do support you in that. So, Vicky, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
any parting thoughts, anyone, before we take off?
Oh no, don't put me on the spot. I don't know.
Don't be the test case.
Don't be the test case. But if you want to be, I will represent you for money.
A lot of money. For money. Lots of money.
I charge extra for dumpster fires, so just remember that.
Oh my god.
I have been applying the dumpster fire surcharge for years now.
That's correct.
That is a new quote that I'm going to add to the Sia catalog, which is I charge more for dumpster fires. Oh my god, if you're going to be a dumpster fire client, oh my gosh, you shall pay.
Double, triple retainer.
Oh my, I'm so happy we've met. I'm so happy.
I'm going to give you so many quotes. You don't even know.
Oh, send them. Please send them because these are good. These are great. So, guys, on that note, well, thanks for joining us for another episode. Vicky, you're a rock star. Jonas, thank you as always, sir. Do you want to close it out? Want to close this out?
Who, me?
No, Mary. Mary over there. Yeah.
You're usually the closeout person. You're the closer.
Okay, all you have to say is thanks for joining us for another episode of Chats Among Us or some crap like that.
Okay, thanks for joining us for another episode of Chats Among Us or some crap like that.
Woohoo! Until a week and a half or 2 weeks. We're bi-weekly, guys, so not next week, but we'll see you next week after that. See ya!